did want to come say hi to everyone out there. So, hello.
Yeah, so it's Thursday, April the 23rd. Can you believe it? I mean, the year's rolling on. A couple of weeks ago, I looked up how many shopping days it was to Christmas, and it wasn't that many. But anyway, it's good to see you all here today. Well, I can't see you. I hope you're there. I'm not sure about this video thing. It's nice. I mean, I'm glad you're here, but...
Yeah, it's good. I'm glad you're here too.
Yeah, I should get up and go.
That would not be good.
Because we just said that in a minute Denise is going to get up and leave. But I should do the ultimate trick. I should just get up and go. That would be funny. But listen, we're glad we're able to come and just say hi to you every day. Some days I tried to do it earlier in the day, and those days invariably something goes wrong technically. And then we had the other day where I was just whittering on at length, and apparently there was no audio. Some of you really enjoyed that. How about you?
No, I like it when I can hear what you're saying. It makes it a little more interesting. So
Yeah.
But anyways, well, I just wanted to mention today, like Doug says, we're doing fine, we're doing well, but it came to my attention, we've got a number of people in class, and I'm not going to mention any names just because it's out there on social media, but there are people that are hurting, that are usually not able to get out anyway, and now a lot of those people, we have added to that number people that are in assisted living or independent living facilities that kind of on lockdown. They used to going to the dining room and seeing their friends. They can't even do that anymore. You know, they're sometimes alone in one room and they can't get any visitors either. So today, if you're feeling kind of lonesome, then just try and think of someone that's on their own or that can't get out, and pick up the phone, give them a call. If you're brave, use FaceTime. It's okay. There's very few of us that look the same on Sunday as we do the rest of the week, so don't worry, they'll just be happy to see you. And if you are one of the people that live alone, try and just maybe call one person today, and try. You don't have to have anything profound to say. Just let them talk. Believe me, a lot of people that have been alone are probably happy for the opportunity to talk. So that's my 10 cents for the day.
Well, it's good. So talking about how you look on a Sunday or whatever, it's now been a month or more since I've been to the hairdresser or to the barber or whatever you call the guy. You know, it's funny that I used to go to this lady, and I went there for years, and in the end she moved and it was inconvenient to go, but the last time I went there I told her I was going to stop going, because by the time when I started I had a full head of hair. By the time she finished with me I was almost bald, but I guess she really didn't have anything to do with that. But I used to ask her for a discount. You know, it's like I only have half the amount of hair I used to have. But she told me, well, once you get to that stage, I charge extra because I have to find the hair before I can cut it. But anyway, why am I talking about that? Only to say, have a good look, because later today, I'm going to have my wife go at it with shears or something. Have we got any real things to do it with, or are we going to use dog clippers?
Don't worry. We'll make it. If not, just wear a hat. It's
okay. So if tomorrow I wear a hat, you'll know that things didn't go quite according to plan. All right, well, you're going to leave.
I'm going to leave, so you all have a good day, good week. We'll talk to you later.
All right, so I guess I'll try and come more in the middle and just say hi to you all. Oops, I'm shaking the whole thing. That wasn't an earthquake, folks. That was me moving the camera. But, you know, I read a story that I wanted to try and tell you, if I can find my notes here. Yeah, my wife is still in earshot. She said, just make it up. It doesn't really matter. But I read a story about a young woman who brought her fiancé home to meet her parents for a Thanksgiving dinner. And after dinner, the mother told the dad to go find out about the young man. So the young guy and the dad went back into his study to talk for a while. And so the dad asked the young guy, he says, "So what are your plans?" And the young man said, "Well, I'm a Bible scholar." So the father said, "Well, that's great, but what do you do to what do you intend to do to provide for my daughter? You know, she'll need a house and you'll need..." And so the young man replied, he says, "Well, I'm going to study, but the Lord will provide." "Well, how will you buy her a beautiful engagement ring, such as she deserves?" asked the dad. And again, the young man replied, "Well, I'll concentrate on my studies, and the Lord will provide." "And then what about children?" asked the father. "How are you going to support the children?" "Well, don't worry, sir. God will provide." And the conversation proceeded like this each time the father questioned. And every time there was a question, the young man came back, and his constant thing was, "The Lord will provide, the Lord will provide." So later, the mum asked her husband, so she said, "Well, how did it go?" And the dad says, "Well, he has no job, no plans, and he thinks I'm God." So, I don't know. I was thinking today about the provision of the Lord. You know, in times like we're going through, I don't know about you, there is a concern about, is there going to be enough? And this morning the question came up because Denise and I were talking about the topic we've all talked about recently, that's toilet paper. It's like, do we have enough? And then I'm thinking, you know what, there's probably a lot of people out there worried about, do they have enough? Now, they may not be worried about toilet paper, they might be worried about food or worried about something else, but the reality is that there's a lot of people who are concerned that they don't have enough. And I guess I wanted to come to you today and to encourage you that we serve a God of more than enough. He is able to meet our needs. I remember the story of some preacher somewhere that had a barrel, like a wooden barrel, on his desk, and in the bottom of the barrel, on the bottom of the barrel, or not on the bottom, but on the inside of the bottom of the barrel, he'd written miracle. That was the word he'd written, and then he covered up the word miracle with some meal, with some, corn or something, cornmeal. And he made the point that you can't see the miracle until the meal is almost gone. And I thought, you know what, that's true in all areas of life. If you've always got enough, then you deprive yourself in some ways of the miracle of God's provision. So that made me think back to the time, I have to tell you, maybe, I don't know, maybe it was 30 years ago, maybe even a little more. Denise and I were not doing well financially. We had done some silly things, and maybe we just done some things that weren't as silly as they might have been, but we did them at the wrong time. You can do the right thing at the wrong time and end up in trouble. But we weren't doing well financially, and I don't know what it is about guys, but we seem to think it's our responsibility to provide for the family. And I remember I was always trying to think of ways to conserve and make what we had last. And I'm not meaning to say that Denise didn't do that. She was the one that was going out with the coupons to the grocery store and with all of these different ways to try and make the money that we had stretch. But I remember we were looking at the financial condition, we were looking at the bills, and she said something which at the time I thought was a little annoying, but it was profound, and that was, the only way out of this is for us to give our way out of it. How illogical is that? How illogical is it that when you have lack, giving can be the time in which you see God's miraculous provision? The human way is when I don't have enough, I want to hold on to and I want to conserve what I have. But that's not God's way. God's way is that you need to sow. You have to take some of what you have and sow it into tomorrow. I remember Oral Roberts coming to our church many years ago, and he told the story, as I've told you many times this story, but it made such a profound impression on me that he talked about how when he was growing up in a farm with his dad, and they were sorting through the harvest, and they would pick up the ears of corn and check them, make sure they were okay for sale. And the ones that were a little dubious, they put on a pile. Those were the ones they were going to eat, because, you know, sometimes farmers don't eat the stuff you can sell. But the very best corn, his dad would stick in another pile. And Oral told the story of how he asked his dad, so why are you sticking all the really good ears over there? And his dad said, well, that's tomorrow's seed. So what he had understood, the principle that the harvest you reap is based on the seeds that you sow. Now, I'm not going to go back and redefine. This is not about salvation. There's nothing that you can earn, nothing you can do to earn your salvation. But I do categorically, absolutely believe that what you sow dictates what you're going to reap. Or what you reap is dependent on what you sowed. You know, there's that phrase we talk about, seed time and harvest. I like to break it up to say seed, time, and harvest. Harvest doesn't immediately follow planting. Sometimes you have to wait through time. And how many times have you heard people say, well, I gave an offering to the Lord, or I did this, or I did that, and they didn't receive anything. They didn't benefit. But guess what? It's seed, time, and harvest. So I go back to that situation that we were facing. We started to give, and it was illogical because it just doesn't sound right. That if I have $1 and I give 10 cents of it away, I'm not giving it actually. If I have $1, then I'm paying my tithes. I give the offerings over and above that. But it doesn't seem logical that I'm going to have less. It doesn't seem logical that I won't have less. But until the meal is almost gone, you can't see the miracle. And so today, I just thought I would come back to you guys and remind you that when you're in a time of shortage, that's the time to sow. I don't know if you watched Sunday, one recent service, it may have been Sunday, I think, and Janie Clark was sitting there with Brad Baker, and they were talking about it. And Janie talked about the very best time to sow is in the famine. And, you know, that's even true from an investment point of view, right? You know, the time to buy on the stock market is not when things are great. The time to buy on the stock market is when things are down low. And I'm not giving investment advice. I'm just saying that all truth is parallel in the same way that we need to be sowing and we need to be giving when things are tight. That's a principle that works in many different areas. But I just wanted to come to you and remind you that it's God's principle that when we give, He gets engaged with our finances. He gets engaged with whatever area. I think when we give, we all of a sudden say to Him, Lord, I'm not in control. I can't do this. I'm taking some of what I have and putting in your hands. As long as I hold it, it's mine. But once I give it into your hands, it's yours. And it's, you remember the story of the 5,000, right? The feeding the 5,000. As long as the little boy had the loaves and fishes, that didn't do anything. It didn't do anything even when he gave it to the disciples. But when the disciples gave it to the Lord, that's when the Lord blessed it. And that's when the miracle occurred. So I may be talking to one of you today who's going through a time of hardship. You may be sitting there worried, am I going to have enough? Might not be toilet paper, but you know what I'm saying. Whatever it is, I just want to encourage you. Don't hold tight, but at times like that, open up and just say, Lord, it's yours anyway. Lord, I'd rather be obeying you and apparently have less, because when I obey you, you get involved and you produce amazing, miraculous things. And I look back on that advice that Denise gave, and that was a landmark moment for us. Did things change immediately? No, they didn't. But did we start to see God's miracle hand of provision? Yes, we did. And we're blessed today. I'm not saying, I'm not trying to boast or something. I'm just saying that we're not in the position that we were. And I give God the glory for that. So today, just want to remind you, we serve Jehovah Jireh, the Lord that sees, Jehovah Jireh, the Lord our provider. And He's going to meet every need we have. He's going to meet your need, even though you can't understand where it's going to come from. I know that He is going to be faithful. We have His word on it. So that was all I have to say today. What was it? Forrest Gump that said, that's all I have to say, or something. But anyway, sure love you all. I hope and pray you're doing well. Denise and I are trying to walk. We went yesterday and didn't realize how hot it had got. So be careful if you go out. If you go out, take water. And if you're not able to go out, then do as Denise said. Pick up the phone, call somebody today. The Lord bless you, keep you, make His face to shine upon you, and give you peace. Sure love you all. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. God bless.